Now we have a panel discussion on opportunities in academia with the panelists including 3 esteemed and professional speakers. And also we have an industry expert moderator as well. Let me introduce you to them. Today we have Professor Vincent Lee as our first panelist. Professor Vincent Lee is the Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellor of Curtin University, Malaysia, and commenced his role in July 2021. Before this, he was the Acting Dean for Faculty of Engineering in 2019 and Deputy Dean from 2017 to 2018 at Curtin University, Malaysia. He's an active researcher and his research interests lie in the use of numerical and experimental methods of nonlinear dynamics to solve engineering problems. He started this research work in 2013 and thus far has worked on 8 projects. We welcome you to this session.
Next, we have Professor Rangika Halwatura. Professor Rangika is the editor for Insight currently. He is also a review for many well-known publications. In 2005, he was an associated member of the Society of Structural Engineers Sri Lanka. 4 years later, in 2009, he became a member of the Sri Lanka Association for Advancement of Science. In 2014, he attained the title of Green Associate Professional and became a member of the Society of Consulting Engineers. We welcome you to this session, sir. Finally, let me introduce our moderator for this valuable event. Today, we have Dr. Aishwarya Bangla as our moderator of this valuable discussion.
Dr. Aishwarya Bandla is an IEEE Senior Member, serves as the Professional Activities Chair, IEEE Singapore Section, and the Chairperson of IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society, Singapore Chapter. She holds a PhD in Biomedical Engineering from the National University of Singapore. She is currently appointed as the Regional R&D Manager at Paxman Coolers Limited, where she carries her research, development, and translation efforts towards a wearable limb cryocompression device for preventing chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy. Let us welcome you all, Dr. Aishwarya Bandla, the moderator of today's panel discussion. Over to you, madam, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Niranjana and Alina, for that excellent introduction. And huge congratulations to the CLAP team for putting up this wonderful event as last year. And it's a privilege to moderate this session with our esteemed panelists. So I've been an academic for about a decade. And from my experience, I can confidently say that an academic's experience in life doesn't stop with the university, but it's more of multifaceted experience. I would compare it to an entrepreneur, an industry professional, and more. I am really excited to be chatting with our panelists today, Prof. Vincent Lee and Prof. Rangika, on their experiences and what they can their advice to aspiring young graduates, all of you gathered here. And I'm sure each of you is going to take away excellent points for whatever career path you may choose going forward. So maybe let's start with Prof. Vincent, who's the Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellor at Curtin University, Malaysia. Prof. Vincent, can you tell us about your journey so far? What made you stay in the path of academia, and maybe share some snippets of what you may consider a memorable experience from your many years in academia so far?
All right. Thank you very much, Aishwarya, and I hope that everyone are able to hear me well and able to see me, right, although virtually. Right, and of course, before I start, I would like to congratulate the organizing team for organizing such a session. I believe Region 10 consists quite a number of sections across Southeast Asia and South Asia, although I believe there are much more coverage across that area. I wouldn't say that I will be providing some advice, but I think what I do is I will share some of the things that I do for the past about 10 years, since 2013. So I completed my PhD in 2012. So after that, I joined a short session with a short time, about a year, with the industry. So from the industry, there you can say that there is some form of a calling, you know. Seems like I'm not that suitable working in industry for some reason, right? And I moved back to academia, and ever since then, I've been working in that sector since 2013. So I think I started off as what most PhD graduate will always do, a person that is very focusing on teaching as well as research, because I think that's all the training that has been given by my supervisor. If you want to excel in your academic career, you do excellent teaching and you do extremely excellent research. I think that's all the advice that all PhD supervisor gave. So Curtin University, as it is an Australian university, so I think the ideology is slightly different from the Asian context, which currently Curtin Malaysia is sitting in Southeast Asia, Malaysia. So it seems that the ideology is slightly different. So in the early career stage, that means from lecturer to senior lecturer, you will need to start building your foundation. And the way to build your foundation is you have really good research. So I think the traditional route, you have supervising postgraduate students, have some publications, right? Decent publications, yeah, and have some research grants. I think that's how you build your foundation strong. And as you continue on building that foundation, you move into a higher academic role, such as associate professor and professor. The role slightly changes. You still work into publication because that is what fundamental scientific research is about, but it's more towards translation into commercialization or something that is benefiting the community. So there is this big shift there between senior lecturer to associate professor and above, which your research outcomes is not benefiting just the scientific community, but actually benefiting the general community in between. So how I did that is that there is once upon a time, I think in 2015 or 16, so I meet this crossroad between at that time I should be a senior lecturer already. So either going towards contributing to community, either through two routes, which I will elaborate more later on, either to scientific discovery and translation into community benefits, or through administrative route that facilitate in terms of all this community engagement. The bottom line is community engagement is always the core. What as an academic in university, you must always remember your core responsibility to the community. Other than creating knowledge is to bring benefits and to bring improvement to the community. So there are two routes. Either I be the technical route or I'll be the facilitating route or the administrative route in more general term. So I did some reflection on myself. I think that is one of the decision time back then. Would I be more suitable as a technical researcher, or I'll be more suitable in the facilitating role, including lobbying with funders to get funding, because without funding, research would be quite difficult to go to the extent that you want. So I see my strength on the other side. So I move into administrative route, and hence all the career after 2017 onwards is all with academic administration or academic leadership rather than technicality. But having said that, you must still have your technical research with you. As an academic, if you stop doing research, I think the meaning of becoming an academic becomes hollow in certain areas. So along the way, are there a lot of challenges? Yes, definitely a lot of challenges. Getting funding is not as easy as 1, 2, 3. You need to know what to do, what to get from funders. Every funders have their own, I would say, agenda or their own objective. And as an academic, being an early career researcher before, I would say I work in a very silo kind of research. I do what I feel I want to do. But as time grows and I become much more mature in terms of age, I feel that if you want to get money from a partner to actually fund the research, you need to address what they really want and not what I myself as researcher want. So that was somewhat of a revelation that I found out. And through that, it appears that it's quite fun. I mean, working with industry, getting all these fundings. I mean, scientific research is still a part of interest to me, but getting to work in partnership with industry, solving some problems and benefiting the community, it finds much more accomplishment in there. Okay, so I think I'll be sharing up until here and I'll continue on as the session goes. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. Vincent. Loved how you covered the whole spectrum, and it's a nice segue for the rest of our discussion. And I liked how you touched upon the central agenda of community engagement society, which also aligns with IEEE's mission of advancing technology for humanity. So let's hear from Prof. Rangika. You have a very interesting profile, and up until your professorship at the University of Morato at Sri Lanka, do you see your journey similar? What would you like to share with us? Some snippets from your journey so far.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And once again, I mean, I should congratulate the entire the organizing committee. That was a fantastic program and fantastic organizing the event, because I mean, every day I get a reminder, and I always get the updates from the day you made the request to join with this panel discussion. So it's amazing. So being as young leaders, I think you have done your job to the level best. Well, I mean, as Aishwarya stated, I think Vincent has basically not kept much room for me to talk about myself. Well, I also graduated. I mean, I graduated in 2004, and then I finished my PhD in 2008. So from the day I graduated, I think, as Vincent stated, I was very closely working with the industry. So that was a very big plus point for me to start my career at the early stage. So soon I finished my PhD, then I joined as a university academic, and I mean, that was the day I started my research as well. So I started my PhD, so I kept that particular PhD area with my supervisor. I was looking for new ideas. So to get the new ideas, as Vincent clearly stated, we need to work with the industry. At the same time, I think I'm more into invention and innovation. I mean, about all these IEEE chaps. I think I'm the only non-IEEE member within this particular audience. So, but still, I was very closely working with all the professional. I mean, all the disciplines. So. Being in the industry definitely gave the tips for me to do research. At the same time, I was very closely working with the community. So I really love to be with the people, getting the ideas, getting the issues. So it's not like I mean, I told you I'm moving to inventions than research, doing publications. So I do publications, as Vincent stated. I mean, we look for the H index, we look for our indexing, and that's the only way we can get especially the international funding. If you are to get the international funding and the industry sponsoring, we need to build our research career. At the same time, I mean, while I was doing publications and doing conferences and all this stuff, I was more into invention and innovation. So it's not like dreaming in the night. I mean, we can't do inventions by getting ideas in a dream, and next day you build the invention, and you'll not be able to market it. You'll not be able to take that to the communities. So if you are to come up with a practical invention, and if you are to market that to the community, or rather convert that invention to the innovation level, I think the best is to be with the community, because they are the people who really knows their priorities and the industry. So if you can get the problem from the industry and the society, we have a ready-made set of customers to accept our invention, accept our findings. So that's how I work with. In addition, I was so I mean, I could say I was a very sort of a blessed person, I could say, because I have a good team working with me. So I always try to get the correct people. I mean, even now, I think I have more than 30 postgraduate or the research students working under me. It's a big team, and there's no leaders such. So even though I'm leading, there's no administrator in that particular team. I mean, there's no managers in that particular team. So I may be leading, but we are working as a team. So always they are correcting me, I'm correcting them, and they are not really civil engineers. They are not really engineers all the time. We are getting people from all the disciplines, maybe sometimes designers, maybe sometimes agriculture's the experts, maybe the biology people, maybe the zoology people. So my research team is very diverse. So that is the biggest the asset I have, I could say. So with that, we were working very closely, and it's like a small family. So we managed to build our own laboratory facility with the help of the industry once again, and with our own self-funding. And being in the academia, being in the field is really challenging. But as an academic, I always believe this particular challenge has to be there for you to build up. More the challenge, you will be developing more. I mean, if you don't have challenges, I think you will stagnate there, and there will not be any further development. Myself, that is the other asset I got. There were a lot of challenges among the other peers, or maybe sometimes outside the peers, even within our own family. So more the challenges, more the people come and challenge me personally. I think I that managed to put me at the next level. So that may be my success story. There are a lot of other factors. One is working with industry, having a good research team, getting the correct tips for me to do research, and more than all, I was always challenged by the people. So finally, that put me here. I mean, who am I today?
That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that journey so beautifully. And for everybody who's listening, if you had picked up subtle points from both their experiences, Prof. Rangika recently shared about his how he has developed his team, and we heard from Prof. Vincent about how it's important to get funding and focus on the agenda of the funders, and also balance between what you want to do. Prof. Rangika again spoke about people management, and we heard from both of them about collaboration, translation, and community engagement. Isn't this what we see in an entrepreneur's life? Both of them are pretty much building a company, seeking funding, addressing what the funders and the investors want, and translating their product and innovation onto the society. So there are so many different career and leadership tips and skill sets which you can draw parallels from the academic world onto any other career which we may want to opt for. And it's almost like there is a new breed of academics I can see developing in the past few years to a decade. Earlier on, when I started off with my PhD, the focus was solely on publications and being a very university-centric academic. But now, with what you both talk about, there is an aspect of leadership into management, university administration. There is an aspect of translation with an opportunity to spin off several, not only one startup, but several startups from your different innovations. However, like Prof. Rangika brought up, the H index and I-10 are numbers which scare academics. So what are your thoughts about such paradigms which still exist in academia? We all hear about publish or perish. So this is probably something which is going to stay, or do you think this is getting, this is evolving into a different sort of approach? And how can young academics prepare themselves for these challenges and sort of practices to move forward and thrive in their academic life?
Aishara, is that for me?
Yeah, please go for it.
Well, thanks. Well, I'll put it in a different way. I think whoever, I mean, whether you are academia or academia or whatever the discipline you are working, I think you should define your own satisfaction level. You need to read yourself, right? You need to read yourself. You have to understand your qualities. You have to understand your values. Then only you can decide the I mean, which way you are going to build up your brand. Branding is very much important. Whether you are academia or whatever the discipline you work, you need to brand yourself. It is not to be a TV star. I mean, I'm not really talking about being a TV star, but still, you need to brand yourself. For you to brand yourself, you need to understand your qualities. I mean, if you want to be an academia, I personally believe the first priority should not be the salary, right? I mean, the academics they differ from the school teacher with only one aspect. The two school teachers, I'm sorry to bring that particular the example. The teachers, they will always deliver, right? They get the content and they deliver. But the university academics, they are not really the people who, I mean, like the people who are in the schools. They're more than they deliver. They I mean, that is dissemination component. But more than they disseminate, they should create the new knowledge. But as you clearly stated, many of our, I mean, even our teachers, they believed, okay, yeah, you need to create the knowledge, and even at engineering faculties, I mean, we create knowledge which are going with the fundamental the science or the basic sciences, but we rarely go into the applied sciences, even being in engineering faculty. So in applied science, the research or applying findings only, you will come up with invention and innovation, and the commercializing, and also the entrepreneurship. So that comes with the applied sciences. But many of us, even my own colleagues, I mean, they are with the basic sciences. I mean, it's very important. I'm not going to say the basic sciences or the basic research are not really important. That has to be there. But at the same time, especially the engineering faculties, I think their duty is to point to the applied sciences than the theory or the fundamental research. So that, I mean, if you are going with the applied sort of research, and I mean, in that particular direction, I think you can easily do the publication. At the same time, you can own your intellectual property, or rather you can create the knowledge and you can publish it. I'm not really discouraging people to publish. You have to publish, but there are ways and means of publishing and going for a patent. So there was a very wrong understanding, where the people thought if you're going for a patent, you can't publish. If you publish, you can't go for a paper. If you publish, you can't go for a patent. That's very wrong understanding. The guidelines are very well set. And I should have the biggest issue is, I mean, even there are a lot of people in Sri Lanka. I mean, there are people who owns patents, but they are locked in a cupboard. So that will not be converted that to the innovations. The Vincent was very clearly stating the reason. I mean, we being as academics, we always love to be in our own silos, right? We are very comfortable. We don't want to go behind. We don't want to go cross the boundaries to see what the other people are doing. And at the same time, we are reluctant to work together. We don't like to make groups. Even we are to make a group, we always love to work with our own our own cluster. Let's say, being a civil engineer, if I want to have a team member, I always pick a civil engineering person, not even electrical, not even a electronic guy. So the knowledge pool will be limited, and within a limited knowledge pool, it's very difficult to go beyond a fundamental research and go beyond go beyond a publication. So that is a very bad mindset we have, and we always think we are the real big people in the community, especially the engineering or the mindset. We think, okay, we are the bosses in the society. And I mean, when we leave the university gate only, we will realize that, I mean, we are not known to the community. Even sometimes the people who are doing the sociology, the political science, they are much more popular than the engineering people. But still, we believe within our cluster, we are the biggest, we are the best. So we don't want to work with the other disciplines. So I think that is one of the biggest the drawback which the engineering academia, I'm especially focusing the engineering academia, but still I think that is valid for the entire academic community, where we three of us are representing. So that is what, I mean, I believe as the barrier. I mean, you have to set your satisfaction level. That is not really money, that is not the salary. If you are to get a good salary, go to the industry, you will be able to earn millions. But being an academia, you have to understand, okay, what is the definition of an academia, and what exactly the community really expecting from you. If you can understand that, I think you are there.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I agree with that. Rather than viewing it as forceful obligation to publish, look at it as a privilege to publish, while you can also patent your innovations and disseminate knowledge to the community. That's a lovely takeaway. Prof. Vincent, what are your thoughts on how do you balance between your duties as a university leader and also your research publication?
All right. Thank you, Ashwara. Well, I think all these hash index things comes in start making a stress to all academics. I think in early 2000, when the guy created hash index, published a paper on that. But as I'm speaking of an academic leader point of view or a funder point of view, there is always this filtering system when you submit any application. So the easiest one is always on paper, and hash index will always be used as a reference, although now it is not as used that widely as much anymore. So to answer your question, the short answer, is there a shift of paradigm? Yes, but there are still some maintenance of the old thinking, that is the hash index. I think we, at least for the next 10 years, we can't avoid from hash index. It will still be there because every fun application that you have, there is one section, what is your hash index? So I think we have to acknowledge that. But having said that, should we actually chasing over hash index? That is the answer that I would say no. I believe as you do excellent, as you publish a genuine paper, people will eventually do citation on it because it is useful to the scientific community. People will eventually cite it. And you don't necessarily have a very high citation on a particular paper, although that would be really great. That would make a lot of academics very happy. But it depends on the usefulness of the paper that we publish as well, the knowledge. As academy, I think once we graduated PhD, having 1 or 2 years in academy, we get to know the rule of the game, how to get high citation. I think all academics know that. How to do that is not that difficult. But how to make that actual citations a reality that is useful to community, that is the biggest challenge. And that is, I would say, the biggest accomplishment for academy. So I would now speaking from the Australian context that where I have been working, well, in my majority of my career is on. To become a professor, research is normally the traditional route, but there are also a separate route from in teaching. So a lot of new graduate, PhD graduate, they will always ask, how can a purely teaching focused staff, academic staff, become a professor? Because the mindset has always been professor must have good research, millions of funding, extreme hash index. I think that's a standard. But what we, again, now this back to my initial point of community engagement. Becoming a very research active academy, you can produce paper to the scientific community and you can translate this into improvements of to the society. So that's one. The same with teaching focused academy as well. How they can, what this teaching academy, especially in the field of engineering and science, is that you can always translate it into higher promotion or awareness among younger generation. Right? I think nowadays, if looking at the statistic, the uptaking rate of STEM education is getting lesser. And I think there probably are some reasons to it yet to be investigated. So for I'm taking IEEE, for example, they did a lot of such engagement with the younger generation at school levels to actually cultivate more interest and what science and engineering can actually do to the world in terms of improvement and in terms of like their tagline for the humanity. So this is very important where when you are very into research, I would say, at least from my observation, when someone is very into active research, the language that they speak are very technical. And to translate this very technical language into a layman term is harder than getting a Nobel Prize for research active academy. But for teaching academy, this is where they comes in. So that people know, I mean, like what Prof. Rangika has said, engineers are normally not well known because we do all the good work, it translated, the businessman pattern it, make money from it. Where the engineers are somewhere in a room at the backstage in the dark, in a very dark alley. That's the reality. But this knowledge, if everything is translated into commercial value, then that means that the initial intention of knowledge creation for the wider good may have been compromised. Not saying that it's not good, but it may have been compromised. So we need all these teaching academics to actually do it to the wider community. And like what Prof. Rangika said, we are different from school teacher, that is, we are generating knowledge. In fact, the whole career of academic is generating knowledge. So we need to do our due diligence and responsibility upon generating to share it as much as possible with all the community that we have. So yeah, so that I would say is I wouldn't say new paradigm shift, but this is what academics initially supposed to do. But due to some creation of KPIs at university level, at the organizational level, the paradigm has briefly detoured to a very outcome KPI driven, but the intention initially supposed to be the same. As academy, there is only single agenda. We do good for the community, right? Okay, I think that's all from me at the moment.
Nicely said, Professor. So if we want to have a quick win and play a short-term game, then we chase the KPIs, numbers like the H index. But if you want to make a bigger impact and play a long-term game and look at your career as a whole, look at what you are going to contribute to the community through your work. And there is more than one way of doing it, not just publishing, but also through activities like community engagement via outreach, leadership in many forms, building a solid research group with good core value system and mission of, again, contributing back to the community and so on. So that is probably one of the main takeaways from both of your answers to our audience today. So in previous answers, both of you brought up some very interesting points about working in silos as engineers and also branding. So looking at those, silos have the concept of working in silos, especially engineers and scientists, is more and more coming into limelight, that we should wean away from them and look at collaboration and more than cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary. Now we have a breed of engineers and scientists who are transdisciplinary, with more than with one engineer or a scientist being specialized in more than one discipline. So they can they should use their skill set to cross-collaborate and innovate across domains. And talking about branding, it's Prof. Rangika rightly mentioned that it is not only for people in marketing domain or other people in the media, but more and more increasingly for one's visibility agnostic of their domain. So these are certain skill sets which I think are early career researchers and graduates should focus on. And we constantly talk about future ready skills, and probably that's one of the main aims of CLAP, to bring this across to and start to develop it at a early phase in their careers. What are other important skill sets which our audience today should look at developing through their education and early career phases?
Well, Aisha, before going to your question, let me add a few points to what Vincent was talking. I mean, he clearly stated, I mean, we'll not be able to change this particular culture for next 10 years. With people will look for H index. But I mean, and at the same time, our focus is the academia. I mean, the early career academias who are basically with us today. Well, I believe, well, I mean, as Vincent stated, I mean, yes, we have to go for H index. You need to improve your indexing. I mean, that's one way of branding yourself. But still, I mean, just because you want to get the citation, go just go and start. I mean, let's say you want to do a publication. Don't always start with the lowest level of confidence. You try the best the journal paper. Maybe that will be the very first day the editor itself will be reject the paper, but still you will be getting the comments. So that comments will help you to think of another paper. I mean, I have that particular experience. I tried some of the papers. I tried with best the publishers, the best journals, and that was within a day that was rejected. And some papers will be reviewed, and with the review comments that will be rejected. So I'm always starting with the best ever possible. And improve, and sometimes with the reviewer comments we improve, and we think of reaching the same publisher, and or else we will go to the second level. We'll say we start with Q1 paper, and the failing that we go to the Q2. Even with the Q1 we get the highest rank journal, the best suitable journal, and we are climbing the step down. But many of our academics, just because they want to increase the indexing, they start with the bottom layer. So because of that, well, you will get the indexing, but you are not really reaching the communities. I'm not really going to say that, you know, the best publishers will get the highest reach. That is not my point. But still, I prefer, I mean, if you really want to brand as an academia, you need to start with the best possible level. So that is in your mindset, you're stating the level high. So your expectations, you set your expectation at a higher level. you will not be able to achieve, but still your initial, the target was at a higher level. So with that, I really want Sharia to recall the question again. That was an addition to what Vincent was talking.
Certainly, Professor. Just to add on to what you said, I think with those reviewer comments from premium journals, another skill set which academics can develop is how to review papers and the thought process of reviewers as well. So that is something which they can develop as well. So the question was about what are the key skill sets which academics can develop, be it professional or technical?
Well, the grouping is I was telling that as the first answer as the first question, but other than that, I think you should be a very good communicator. Well, that is one big mistake where the engineers fails. I mean, we are good in that Vincent was also talking about the same thing. The way of presenting our ideas, it's more academic, more scientific. So the general public, the layman, will not be able to understand. More than that, I think we should be able to understand the audience which we talk, right? If it is very scientific, well, fine. I mean, you go and talk in a scientific way. Let's say you are doing a keynote to the scientific, your own community. You do a very scientific speech, but when you go to the public, you should be able to understand the level of understanding. Its communication is not about English, not about the showing your the colors. You're not about showing your the knowledge. That, I mean, communication is all about making the listener to understand what you say. But many of our engineers, especially the academic sector, they always believe all the time the audience is their classroom. No, I mean, the classrooms can change. The classroom, well, I mean, you have to talk with your scientific terms. But when it goes to the public, if you really want to pass the knowledge, you need to get the layman language. You need to tap their heart and say what exactly they want to know. It's not what exactly you want to you want to say, but what they want to know. So that is the biggest the missing skill, I believe, as engineers. So one is the grouping. The next is the communication. We are very poor with communicating. This presenting. I mean, we know how to work with numbers. We know how to work with the words. If you ask our students or the academia to do a presentation, they love to have a PowerPoint presentation with some numbers, with some figures, with some words. But when it's really start telling, you don't know how to get your facial expressions right? So you don't know how you need to balance your voice. So that is very much important and interesting for you to be a good presenter. I mean, it's not really going, and again, I'm bringing the same media story. It's not like a presenter who goes to the media and talk to the public. I mean, you have to imitate. Aishwarya, I personally believe all the time, copying is the best the skill you should have to have as a good academia, right? It's not really copying and pasting. You can get this and paste it somewhere. That is not really copying. You copy, you put it here, you add your the personal skills and paste. So that is really lagging with our engineers. I mean, in our undergraduate level, or even at our childhood, we say the copying is really bad, and they copy as a wrong step. So the people copy at the exam because they don't know how to copy it really, right? So the copying is another the good talent academia should have. I mean, we copy. Always we copy. Let's say we are going to do a good research, we copy. I mean, we review. We check the other papers what they have done. So they get the knowledge, and you find the niche which the other people has not done. So the copying is. I mean, as I told, I think Vincent will move to the list. So I personally believe the grouping, the communication, and copying are the three most interesting and important skill academia should have to become a good leader.
Thanks, Rangika. Hope everybody's taking notes. Some very interesting points which you'll have to relearn and learn again. Prof. Vincent, what would you like to add to this list?
All right. I think in addition to what Prof. Rangika have already mentioned, I'll also give three points. Right. The first one, I think, perseverance. All academy in Malaysia, what you should be thick fast, means you should be persevere enough. Do not afraid of failure. I believe Prof. Rangika will agree because he is an editor himself. When a paper is submitted and went through the editorial board stage, At the editorial level, at least, they are ready to accept your papers. But you need to give them a very strong reason, which is through the review of the reviewers. Through the reviewers, they triangulate and they rectify that, yes, this is a good paper, then it will be published. Right. The same as funders. When you approach a funder and they agree to meet you, that means that they are ready to give you the money. But because it's still an investment for them, so they got to make sure. So you need to convince them that by giving the money to you, you are able to deliver. So that's number one, perseverance. And a lot of academics that I have met, they're more, I won't say all of them, but majority of them cannot go through this stage. They are not persevere enough. They met rejection from a journal, which is, to be honest, very common. I think every academia would face at least few rejections. There is no one time go through, right? So once they face a rejection, it becomes such a, I think, a ego crush or emotional crush that they cannot continue on, right? The same as funding, you know, be persevere. Once they accepted, take the recommendation as an improvement, then slowly you grow. And of course, as you proceed, I mean, even as reaching a professor myself nowadays, I would still submit a paper and get rejection. I mean, it is just part of the process. I mean, it's fine. You do not feel that once getting rejected is the end of the world. It's not, right? It's just beginning of a better journey, right? Do not feel afraid of rejection, right? Second is to be alert, right? When being alert, I would take part of Rangika's copying part, right? So being alert of what the other communities in your area or the other areas are doing, right? You need to know what everyone is doing. Only then you know where to go. If not, you may be doing a work with another person replicating and that person published earlier, and then you get another ego crush because that person published before you. So no, be alert. And it's okay to share your work with many other people. There is no problem with that. We are academics. We are not businessmen, right? We are okay to share. We can share. If we see that another team is working on a similar area, we can collaborate. When more minds combine together, we can produce better things. Okay, be alert. And of course, if looking at the current world directions, at least until 2030, the areas that everyone is all moving towards is the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. So look into the 17 areas. And from there, I believe now a lot of your work will be much more meaningful because you are working on a worldwide agenda. And a lot of companies are in addressing to this agenda as well. So that's number two, be alert to your surrounding, right? And lastly, what I would recommend to all academics, young and all mature, early career, be humble always, right? Even within the field, like for example, in my field, nonlinear dynamics, perhaps in Sarawak or in Malaysia, I'm one of the good ones. But when you look wider, there are always someone that is better, even your student. In fact, I learned a lot from my student, from my PhD student on some areas rather than I learned from my peers. I still learn from my peers, but some of the great ideas, especially in numerical simulation, I learned it from my student. Right? That guy over a night come up with a brilliant idea. I said, okay, go ahead. You do it yourself because he is now the expert. I don't know that, but always learn, be humble. You can get useful information from a lot of people once you let that ego down. So I think this is some of the academic ego that we have. So I think all 3 points are related to ego for some reason. But anyway, that's the 3 tips that I would give for early career.
Lovely. Golden words from both of you. And it's been an excellent session discussing and learning from your journey. And I'm sure we can discuss for another few hours and learn so much more. But for the want of time, I guess we will wrap up our discussion for this panel session here today. Once again, I would like to thank both of you for sharing very lovely points and very nicely summarizing them with examples from your journey. And I'm sure all the audience here take away a lot from your journey and your experience. And thanks again to the CLAP team for putting this together and for inviting us. Back to you guys.